Thank you all very much for the honor and privilege of being here on this very special occasion, and for the greater honor and privilege of being in the company of Sheila ji, a lady and a politician who I've admired intensity as I have affection for her. And while the cycles of politics go up and go down, it's always a roller coaster. I think Sheila ji is going to be the one chief minister who breeds more nostalgia than support. You've just started a festival called Scoop, and you're all journalism students. I hope now the first thing you will do is read a book on journalism called Scoop. It was in 1930s. I think it was Evelyn Waugh's book. Read it carefully because it is a story of a journalist who becomes a journalist by accident, who goes to report a war in Abyssinia, the only war famously in which the Italians won after Julius Caesar. This was in 1932. And that journalist became famous by reporting each day whichever lie he could pick up from the marketplace. It's not the best advertisement for journalism, but it is a salutary fact. There's also a book I'd recommend that you read. It's called The First Casualty by a friend of mine, Philip Knightley. It's about, again, war reporting. And it tells you something startling, that no war has been reported accurately. Do you know this, the famous 91 war, Saddam Hussein's Scud missiles? Every day on CNN, you watch Scud missiles hitting each other. There was only one Scud missile which was fired.
Oh my God.
Through the whole war, and CNN kept repeating that same image day after day. So, having now exposed journalism, it's my turn to get a look at politics. Sheila ji, let's begin with the question and throw the thing to her. Did media hurt you in the last elections?
No, I don't think it hurt me. But it certainly played up the new phenomena in politics. That's Mr. Kejriwal. It certainly did that. And I must admit to you that we who were on the ground and moving around didn't quite feel the impact of it. We knew that something was happening. We also, as the elections grew nearer, we got to know the uncommon way that Mr. Kejriwal went around, giving promises that were just not fulfillable. But we understood that, but I don't think the people at large understood that. Second thing which we saw was perhaps 15 years. There was a certain sense of fatigue, even though everybody admitted to the fact that we had done a lot of work. Delhi had changed. But there was a sense of fatigue and perhaps a feeling eventually, let's bring about a change for the sake of change without really going into it. Particularly the educated, who just didn't think about anything. I was rather surprised. I myself thought that nobody would believe that you can give 50% off on power, or you can give so many liters of water absolutely free. We also knew that the new party didn't have the real feel of Delhi's administrative system. They did not know it at all. So they kept on making promises. Perhaps there was a desire for change. And the students particularly, I will leave it for their experience now and later on to see what exactly the decision that they took then was right or wrong. Did it make their future really more bright and more secure and more modern? This you will have to decide after some time. But I would like to say, Akbar Sahab, that the people were misled. And we were not able to counter it as much or as strongly or as effectively as we should have been able to do. Whatever the reasons are, there were within my party some reasons, and also otherwise. We also felt that there were a lot of lies even by the other political party like the BJP. They went and said, we'll give you 30% less in power. And the prices were played up. And the surprising thing was that the day you cast the vote, that very evening or the next morning, the prices came crashing down to 1/3 of what they had been. So something in black marketing had been happening. So it was an unusual election, a memorable election. And I think all of us have lessons to learn from it, both good and not so good.
Anyway, so Sheilaji, even Jawaharlal Nehru didn't last beyond the third term.
No, that's not the regret.
No, he didn't. He didn't. It's a fact.
Yeah.
Because 15 years is too long.
Yes, much too long.
The fatigue sets in. People want to know whether democracy actually, democracy is not the right to cast a vote. Democracy is the right to change governments. And if you don't change them once in a while, you forget how to do so.
Yes, I guess you're right. It's a journalist's point of view, not a politician's point of view.
But you've made a very important point, which is how does a political... It's not much of a phenomenon. One of the problems of Delhi is that it thinks it's India. It's not. Delhi is only 7 municipal style MPs. India is 700 MPs. But it's a pampered city. It's a city in which the taxes of India come, keep us all happy. So how does a phenomenon, a mini phenomenon, which has made honesty into its core claim, get away with lies? Is corruption only the corruption of exchange of a little bit of money? Or is corruption also telling you lies that you know are lies, that you'll never be able to deliver it? How would you define that, ma'am?
This definition, if I were to give you an answer to that, MJ, it would be something cliched. So would you rather have somebody who's in the audience here answering this kind of thing? What is their perception?
We'll take that then when the open house part starts.
Okay. So
and we'll keep
because
this at
I'll tell you, yes, because corruption, as you have very rightly said, corruption is not only just cash corruption, it is also corruption of ideas. Well, how are you sort of, attracting people or inducing people into an area which people know is not possible but would like to believe that it is there. So that is what I think got everybody. And of course, at some point of time or the other, everybody is hurt by corruption. And I mean money corruption at this point. But I want to ask those who spoke about corruption, are they any less? Have they introspected and said that, yes, we are the clearest, we have nothing, this thing, as is coming out now, the number of lies that have been spoken, the number of actions that have been initiated, which look different, but the end result is the same.
The end result, we are still in the process of finding out.
Yeah. That's why, yes.
I mean, taking personal viewpoint, I knew that this drama was going to collapse. I mean, I was very clear from the very beginning, and I wrote about it.
Yeah.
But I really never expected it to collapse or implode so quickly, which just means that the bigger the fraud you are, the more quickly you get exposed. But now, speaking as somebody who's gone through a very, very difficult thing, I mean, sorry, I'm not talking about this personally. I also fought 2 elections. When you win an election, you think, me, MJ Akbar, won an election. When you lose an election, you discover there's something chap called a voter. But, there's a question which I think is probably be of interest. At what point in the election season does a hope, a dream of election or re-election start becoming a nightmare?
I think it's just before about, it could be a week, it could be 4 days, it could be 7 days, just before the election. Before that, I can tell you that all these years that I was there, we used to have meetings. There were huge meetings, very good response, and people listening to you. But towards the end, one came to see eyes which were, either not warm enough, not welcoming, looking blank, and with a question mark. That's when you start feeling कि भैया, all is not well. But when you're in an election, Akbar, we never, and you should never give up hope till the very last vote. Because if you do that, then you've lost it even before you started. So you carry on with that. And I think that's true of everybody. Very often you don't realize things that are underground. And they come out at the last minute. So it's really the last 4 or 5 days that you really realize that.
Yes, you're absolutely right. I mean, the one thing, when you want to find out what is going to happen, never look at the size of the crowd. Always look at the small of the eye. If the eye is bright, then you'll see that the response is coming. And if the eye is dull, she said, you know that whatever else the future may have in store for you, I mean, this one is not for you. Let's go to the theme that they would like us to discuss, which is the emerging issues and the themes of the coming election. Do you think that, and this is the President's speech also made the point, that stability is going to be one of the most decisive factors that will determine the people's vote?
Stability certainly will be. But I can tell you, apart from a stable government, which we've had for some time now, 3 governments, the NDA was also a mix, and so was the UPA 1 and 2. What we need now, more than just the word stability of a government carrying on, is the stability and the capacity and the atmosphere to be able to push forward the agenda you want. Pushing forward the agenda is the most important thing. Unfortunately for us, and I'm not going into party politics in this, that we have seen a parliament in the past 1 or 2 years which is just not functional. You can't get through your debates, you can't get through your bills, you can't get through anything. So that is where the question mark is coming, Akbar, and we have to be very, very, very sensitive to this. Is parliamentary democracy the answer? And if that is not the answer, then what is it?
But, surely, there is nothing that you can do in the last 6 months which you should have done in the first 6 months. I mean, there's no point saying that the last few sessions, I mean, all
no,
last
2 years,
I
said. 2 years practically.
Turbulent. I mean, this is the post-Anna Hazare movement, really, which created the turbulence in the whole environment. Yet surely, to fight corruption, you don't need Anna Hazare. You should know that this is a problem which has been plaguing India since the 60s, 70s. Why do we need, well, not a maverick, but why do we need an outside force to come and wake up the system with a few slaps?
No, but MJ, I'll tell you, some years ago when I've just been married to a young IAS officer, when anybody spoke of corruption, so why do you speak of corruption? You're not supposed to be corrupt. It should be taken for granted. But today it's become a topic.
Take honesty for granted.
Yes, take honesty. Why? Honesty is no great virtue. You're supposed to be honest, whatever position you may be in. But today it's become something that is touched the minds of everybody. Everybody's concerned. Everybody's worried about it. I sometimes wonder, do I worry where am I corrupt? Both in mind or in, money terms. If each one of us to look at ourselves and say, am I corrupt or am I not corrupt? Do I want something out of turn because it'll help me to get something out of turn? Or it'll save me time or something? I think we need to introspect. Perhaps I'm talking too too much of a dream, but I think
too idealistically.
Too idealistic, too much of a dream.
But her husband was a lovely person, absolutely lovely. And he was very fond of theatre, by the way, just in case.
Yeah.
You mentioned a very important point, that we need in this political system an injection of some fresh ideas.
Yeah.
Well, here I want to bring up something that I just read and wrote about by a party General Secretary of the All India Congress Committee, Janardhan Dwivedi, who raised a question I think will be relevant to this audience in particular, is when are we going to end caste-based reservations? What do you have to say to that?
Well, I would say that what Mr. Janardhan Dwivedi has expressed is something that is in the minds of many, many people. That should it not be economic based, should it not be poverty based, those below and those above, no matter what religion or caste or you belong to or which area you belong to. I think we have to take the first steps towards this. It's important, it's really, because please remember that there are people in the upper castes as well as in other regions also, who are very, very poor.
Absolutely.
Are you not going to cater to them?
And
so we have to, yes.
Those outside the caste system altogether?
Yes, altogether.
Sir, I'm so sorry to interrupt again. Could you please interchange your mics because of your voice pitches?
Oh. I've just been told that my voice is softer than Sheila Ji's, but of course it is.
I am extremely proud of this.
We always have to submit to higher authority.
A woman.
Of course. So this is very interesting, that at least in ideas are being raised in the election season. But, I mean, to complete that question, the Congress party's president intervenes the next day and says that no, there is no question of discussing this. Is that because of conviction, belief, or the necessities of the coming election?
No. I think what she wanted to clarify was that those who are, enjoying the benefits of this, those are not, they are not going to suffer. Because the way Mr. Janardhan Dwivedi said it was, it could have been interpreted that this will be removed and this will become the thing. That was the fear that I think she wanted to settle down and say, okay, no, this is not so. This will continue. Yes, what Mr. Janardhan, she did not say it, but I think by implication it was that many would think that what Mr. Janardhan Dwivedi said also was something that needs a little bit of political thought and idea, as a new idea.
And how, if you were handling the Congress party's election campaign in Bihar, would you handle this?
Yeah. No, not only Bihar now, everywhere. Bihar is traditionally been like that.
It's my state. I mean, half
it's
of
your
my
state, I
half
know.
of my state.
But it's becoming, people are becoming aware of it now much more than, because of the benefits that you seem to be getting vis-a-vis others.
One question before we open it to the House. We'll take 5 questions from there because you said you had to go. There were 2 Congress governments running in Delhi at the same time. One was led by Mrs. Sheila Dikshit and one was led by Dr. Manmohan Singh. In the last 5 years, at least in Delhi, you had governance. Why didn't the Congress party get governance at the national level? Why was such a collapse of government of Dr. Manmohan Singh, which is being reflected all over in the country? There is so much anger against the absence of governance of the UPA. How can the same party deliver 2 totally different things?
No, I'll tell you, MJ, I think the real problem with the central government is that they are not able to articulate what they have done. In the past 10 years, India has grown much more, at a much faster pace, more inclusive way than it ever has before. But somehow we are not able to articulate that. We are not able to carry that message to people. People do not know what's happening. Or they only know that, ke, haan, meri tankha ban gayi, ya mera wo badh gaya. Only that limited thing. That's the failure. And I think that's the kind of lesson we need to learn from here, that we need to not only do, but we need to crow about it also.
Oh, well, I mean, I saw lots of advertising.
Now, recently.
No. DAVP advertising, page after page, year after year. There was something missing. Maybe as a Congress leader, you can't say more. That is understandable. But anyway, this is a friendly morning. So we will now open the House to questions. Just 5 questions. I am not going to take responsibility to select who it shall be. Right? Will you take the responsibility and...
Somebody raised their hand there.
Somebody has raised their hand there. Why don't you get up?
My question is... Yes. As I said, if I'm not one loyal supporter of any one political party, and I have one of the most senior leaders seated in front of me, how do I expect the party on a whole to convince me, the youth, to vote? Because I have not found anything so elusive in the prospective presentation or on how about Congress has gone around for the last 15 years in Delhi. If I am not convinced, what is it that I need to understand to say that, yes, this is something that I have seen in 15 years, and this is something that I am hoping for in the Lok Sabha elections coming up?
Are you 15 years old?
I am not 15 years old, but I have my parents whom I blindly trust to tell me what's happening around.
I would like to say one thing, and I'm being frank about it. You elected this Congress government 3 times, in itself continuously a record. As Mr. M.J. Akbar said, perhaps even Jawaharlal did not have 3 terms. Why did they elect the 3 times?
He died in the...
No, why did they elect this government 3 times over? In itself, continuously a record. Lekin this time, perhaps, as I said, there was a sense of fatigue. There was something that, all right, let's try something new. Maybe something better will come around. And of course, there was the impact not only of the Delhi government per se, but also of the central government, which also happened to belong to the same party. So there was this feeling. And I think in a democratic setup, you have the perfect right. If you feel convinced you want to vote for X and not for P and not for B, you're welcome. This is your right. With what understanding you do it is also your own right. It's your own choice. So इसमें हम ये convince कर दें कि आपको हाँ, we reach out to every. As I said, the Congress governments always are inclusive. Either we were not able to get the message across, or you had become impatient with somebody who had been ruling for 15 years. चलो भैया बदलो. Doesn't matter क्या आया. और क्या आया अब आप देख ही रही हैं. Thank you.
Good afternoon, ma'am. Ma'am, what is your take on the current Jan Lokpal bill which Mr. Kejriwal is proposing? As it is for the good of the people, and so why is your party reluctant to pass it and support it?
It's not a matter of reluctance. Please remember that there are systems in this country. There's a constitution in this country. If a Lokpal bill has been passed by the parliament, or leave alone a Lokpal bill, any other bill, if a state government bill, and Delhi is not a full state, remember that also. If it is repugnant to this central law, then it cannot be passed. It will not get the sanction of the President of India, which it has to get the sanction right. Therefore, we are saying, don't try and tell people, confuse people by saying, मैं तो बहुत अच्छा कर रहा हूँ, बाकी सब गलत है. Please ask this. Ask Mr. Kejriwal. Go to him and ask him. Are you the sole crusader? Everybody has done it, and Lokpal has come. It's to be adopted by every state in the country, but it cannot be repugnant, it cannot be different from a central law.
You know, sorry to interrupt, but the biggest danger here, the day we surrender our parliamentary democracy or democratic system and bring in anarchy in the name of some imagined goodwill, I mean, this government cannot function. Just as the traffic jams have increased in the last month, the political system will not be able to bear the weight of anarchy. It's very dangerous.
I'm there. Morning, ma'am. My question is that if we go back to the history, during Indira Gandhiji's time, our governments were more decisive. But after the coalition era started, we have seen that it is getting less and less powerful day by day. Either it is because of, as said by our PM also, coalition ki majburi. So do you think, is there any future perspective of the situations improving in coalition era? Or what is your point on this, that what will be the future of this coalition era? Do we have to suffer the same thing which we have been suffering till now?
Well, it's for the people of India to decide that they want a clear government of a clear party. We've had three parliaments, three governments, successive governments, NDA, UPA, UPA 2, where you've had to perforce make a coalition government. And coalition governments are not the best because you have to compromise at all time to keep the government going. You're not free to take decisions which are totally reflective of the policy that you have come upon. And so it would be better, and I do hope 2014 will bring about not a coalition government, but a clear majority government.
Yes, ma'am, I think it will. Just remember Ramayana. The hero has one head, Ravan has 10. That's the difference between a stable government and a coalition government. One final question.
We just have one final question. Who's asking it?
Well, I just wanted to say, ma'am, that you were talking about your husband, that he said that we are all expected not to be corrupt. But if you look at the performance of Congress, I think corruption is the basis that it seems to be thriving on. And I think this might be the reason that the present government in Delhi has sort of been taken over by Aam Aadmi Party. And
tell me one corruption case you found in the Delhi government.
Well, every day there are so many
this
cases
is where your
which
journalism
are coming.
Comes in. कि आप बोलते ही चले जा रहे हैं, आप बोलते चले जाइए, जब सब क्लियरेंसेस हो गए फिर भी आप बोलना चाह रहे हैं, whatever the reason may be, कि भैया ये करप्ट है, हम बोलते चले जा रहे हैं, CAG ने या शुंगलू कमेटी ने या किसी ने कोई भी एक
May I complete my question? So I was just saying that, you know, like even after 40-45 years of ruling the country, the government has not really come out as we would have wished it to. And you can see one case of corruption that I can tell you, which you might not look at as corruption, but I think we taxpayers do, is the crores and crores and crores of rupees which are spent almost every single day on eulogizing the Gandhi dynasty, Nehru dynasty. Why do we need that? If people have done something, it is there for us to see. So why should we spend crores of taxpayers' money for this? Secondly,
that's a better question than any journalist has asked.
Secondly, sometimes I really wonder if, you know, the indication was that BJP would come to power, and Kejriwal might have been planted by Congress itself to make sure that BJP doesn't get majority, clear majority. Because I think coalition governments have been the bane of this country for the last so many years. Everybody is trying to please everyone else, and nobody is thinking of the public.
As I said, corruption, your first statement that the corruption is there. Is the corruption not there in the BJP governments? Number one. I just want, since you took the name of the Congress, I'm saying it. Secondly, where the dynastic policy of the Congress is concerned, eventually that dynasty which leads this Congress or is considered to be the leaders of the Congress only come into power if the people elect them, not otherwise. There is no rule, no law here, no governance here which is imposed on anybody. 5 साल के बाद आते हैं, 45 years आपने कहा, 45 years उस परिवार को या उसके सदस्यों को elect किया गया. तो ऐसे नहीं कोई चला आया है कि भैया हम आ गए, we've been nominated there. So please remember that, number 2. Number 3, your question was about, advertisements. Every government does advertisements. If we are taking names, I'd like to ask you, Mr. Modi, the amount of advertising that he has done and the amount of things that many of us know which did happen or did not happen in the state from which he comes, we'll find out sooner or later. So ye baat hai. But eventually, if the people of India select you as the Prime Minister, you will, or as an MP and you were selected by your party as the Prime Minister, fine. It just so happens that this family has been done, and where all these crores of money is concerned, it's not just this party, it's everybody is doing it. Is Modi spending any less on it? I think much, much more. You sit down and watch, I'll tell you. Maybe you like Modi's face, that's a separate matter altogether.
Well, I mean, lots of people do.